Hello, everybody. Another on the radar. I should get out and about more soon in the springtime. Travel here in Europe in February is really inexpensive, so it's the time to go abroad in Europe. But March, April, it's starting to get nice and staying close to home. Tourists start coming May, April, May. So get out and about in Portugal while you can. Um, I saw a couple things this morning that were quite good that I wanted to make you aware of. Um, Ed Zitron is the guy from Better Offline, and he has a newsletter that's extremely good. Um, I would definitely recommend that you look at it. He talks about the tech space and social media, AI, things like that, and tries to put things in perspective. So if you're jumping on the bandwagon and you want to trade, you want to get in while all the hype is happening and people are getting excited, and get the heck out and leave some money on the table. Don't wait till it's as high as you think it might go, because a lot of these things are bubbles and scams and pump and dump. And there was an article about Argentina pump and dump, and what's happening in El Salvador that went all in Bitcoin and all that kind of thing. The end of the day, these technologies are extremely bad for the world, for people, for our mind, for our hearts and souls, and for the ecosystem. I mean, it's materials and energy intensive, and till we have, fusion reactors too cheap to meter, it's going to be a rough thing to maintain under current conditions. I know Joe Rogan and people like that don't believe climate change is real because they can't read a graph and they don't understand how the math works and the statistics work, and they don't understand all the domains in science that are investigating multiple lines of evidence about what has caused recent temperature rises, okay, recent spates, where that's coming from. So not ancient times, not geological time, but what happened since 1800 until now. They don't get it. They don't want to get it. The same way that Mel Gibson doesn't want to understand evolution. He's he's very faithful. He's very committed to his version of Catholicism, and it's good enough for him. And he's a talented, brilliant writer, director, actor. He's not a stupid man. He's very intelligent, thoughtful. He reads books. He is an alcoholic and a drug addict, and maybe he's bipolar. Who knows? I don't know. But he's not a horrible person, not a perfect person. He'd be the first to admit that. But sometimes people, no matter how smart they are, just don't want to know certain things. And a lot of my really smart friends are concerned with investment, making money, and other things. And they're really not interested in doom scrolling or doomerism or doomists or problems or things like that. They're focused on what they want to accomplish, which is good. I have nothing bad to say about that. But the fact is that if you're a smart investor or a smart person who wants to understand kind of recent trends and where things are going, just so that you can be prepared and just so you can have more agency when it comes to your making a choice about who to vote for or what to do in your local community, or what you might need in the future. You might want to stay up on things a little bit, even up on things that you're not familiar with or interested in, naturally. Like, I'm not really interested in basketball, but, I have a friend interested in basketball, so I'll go to a few games and learn the rules, and, at least I'll know what basketball is. And some of these domains of science are extremely important to understand these days, because the anti vax thing is coming back. People misunderstand what the vaccines are for. And all that. The biggest crime about the vaccines wasn't that people, sold them for money because it's a for-profit business that's making them in the first place. They have to invest lots and lots of money to produce them, even if they're getting help from the government. And there are shareholders who give a shit. So the real bad part was you wouldn't sell them at a discount to countries in Africa that needed them. You just throw half the world under the bus because, they're really only for people who can afford them. And then a lot of Americans just didn't want them because they were caught up in this conspiracy narrative. Talking about Fauci as if he's evil, it's hyperbole and it's misplaced attention. There are more important things to worry about. And yes, the business world is far from perfect. I think that. And, big pharma, big oil, big whatever, big education. It's everything's flawed, right? People are involved and people aren't perfect. And we're incentivized by profit. So, our careers matter. How we make money matters more than anything. And profit matters more than anything. So obviously, we're going to have negative externalities when our value system values money over anything else, really. I mean, yeah, of course, you love your daughter, you love your grandmother, but, you need that cash, right? And so, yeah, there's a lot of problems with that, but this Ed Zitron, I'll just start this recording here so you can pop in on it. The generative AI con, and it's a long article, and he's frustrated because he's been commenting on this for a long time, and he talks about whether it's a really useful product for people or not. If it's just hype, and how the media, gets on board and starts hyping things, and what's really happening. What are the pitfalls? What are the risks? What's the damage that this industry could potentially do, and so on and so forth. It's important to think about these things instead of rushing headlong into something without slowing down and thinking about all the consequences of the action, action reaction. It's just so weird, but we don't do that because you got to make pump and dump right now, and the people involved with these companies are managers and hype artists and con men, and they're grotesquely sociopathic. And they only care about money. They don't care about their employees. They don't care about you or anybody else. So it's pretty damn unfortunate that the wealth pump kicks all the cash up to them and leaves you in the lurch trying to find a job and wondering if AI is going to take your job, even though it probably won't. But, how many companies will fire a whole bunch of people just because, AI is around here, and they think that they can replace you, and then they find out they can't. And, it's just a mess, all this kind of stuff. So another thing here that I wanted to share was from indie.ca. He's a social critic, bit of a polemicist, a bit bitter, but he grew up in America, but he's Sri Lankan background, and he moved back to Sri Lanka. So he reports on the world from there, and he has great insights. He's very critical of the white empire, and white doesn't mean Caucasian. It just means this Western kind of waspy colonial project that's been chugging along for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the damage that it's done and continues to do. The whole Trump saga with this Saudi Arabian negotiations, whatnot, nothing much is going to change there. And we have in the States a uniparty of people more concerned with business than anything else. The culture wars is just a sideshow to keep you emotionally involved while these careerists more or less take power and use it any way they want to enrich themselves. It sounds kind of vague and shallow to say that, but if you look into it, you can make those statements. So he talks about Anuradhapura, a man-made lake that was made 2,500 years ago, and he points to Ely Cathedral near Cambridge, and all these monuments like the pyramids and everything. They're not disposable towers, built to worship money that are going to be falling apart in 20 years. They lasted thousands of years. The pyramids were the tallest building in the world from 2500 BC to 1300. Can you imagine? It's a long run. Sri Lanka's stupas were the tallest in Asia for centuries. Churches were the tallest things in Europe. If you look at ancient civilizations, they were capable of lasting for thousands of years, and their works lasted for thousands more. They don't make them like that anymore because they have quite literally left the building, and it's true. You don't go to these something greater than all of us buildings anymore to contemplate the awe of existence and so on. You don't do that anymore. You go and you look at Wall Street and you take your picture in front of the bull and you worship mammon and money. So the Romans crashed in around 1,000 years. And yesterday I was talking about how long it took, Byzantium, Eastern Roman Empire to crash, and how quickly our civilization's going to crash. If you're talking about our civilization as being modern, industrial, fossil-fueled, financialized global capitalism. It's a rocket ship to do amazing things, and then it's a crash and burn, and it takes, a couple hundred years, 300 years. The Romans crashed in around 1,000 years. The Greeks, Chinese, and Mesoamericans in 2,000 years. The Egyptians took over 3,000. We are obviously getting worse at this, not better. What we call progress is literally a vanity metric. What we think of ourselves in the rear view window as we hit a wall historically. Progress was a gun, fossil fuels loaded it, and we promptly blew our brains out. Like a kid bringing his daddy's gun to school, it was all very impressive until it was terribly depressing. Industrial civilization, we hardly knew you. You died on the playground. Ouch. The guy can turn a phrase, man. Maybe depressing, but the reason I'm bringing this stuff to you is that I want you to broaden your perspective. You don't have to just see the world through the eyes of mainstream media, propaganda and public relations, and all of the weird clickbait that you see on these Chans and the Reddits and all these other forums and social media that are just echoing and parroting stuff that they get from the propagandists. And you think you're smart. You think you're well informed. And you haven't read a book in ages. I mean, it's pitiful. It's tragic. Domesticated, pacified, not going to do a damn thing. But you're going to audit the conversation until you go blind and get cataracts and need special kinds of eye drops. So he has a complexity curve here, benefits of complexity. And this is an interesting thing. So every civilization in human history has a distinctive curve, a rise and fall. Tainter laboriously mapped this across many civilizations, but it's obvious to any Tom, Dick, or Ozymandias if you look around presently. The fate of every creature that claims existence is to lose it. All creatures, great and small. Impermanence is the only permanent phenomenon. Our permanent structure is used to reflect this, but we've lost ourselves in our phones and missed the message from the pyramids. And he goes on and it says, Darwin didn't say that it's not the biggest, the strongest, or the best that survive, but the most adapted to change. Ancient civilizations exhausted their immediate environment, but we've exhausted the whole planet. There is no concept of progress and evolution because the baseline is always changing. There's only adaptation, adapt or die. And we have fucked this so bad, there's a mass extinction going on, right? I stick my head underwater to clear my thoughts. These are useless thoughts, especially projected in from the future. Thinking too much is the most thoughtless thing you can do. That's the first rule of meditation, which I forget religiously. I don't know if I believe in God, but I do know that I fear them. It doesn't require any faith for this. Just visit the houses of the holy and see how big they are. If you see a big doghouse, there's generally a big dog. Okay, take care. Have a really wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bullion T, out.